Hey guys, welcome back to The Binger. Nickelodeon shows often play a pivotal part in a child's development, like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Viewing them as an adult is an entirely different experience. It might shatter your fragile illusions, but the shows we know and love aren't always completely innocent. Let's take a look at some of the risque moments you may have missed the first time around. SpongeBob's running joke. SpongeBob SquarePants. When it comes to SpongeBob SquarePants, the entire show is basically an adult joke wrapped up in a kid's cartoon. Some of the biggest capers are the names of the places, like the Krusty Krab and Bikini Bottom. The idea of Krusty Krabs in your Bikini Bottom is enough to put you off your dinner, isn't it? They're so cleverly disguised in plain sight that most people don't really think about the hidden meaning. But that's what we're here for, to point out those gems of humor that you may have otherwise missed. Let's not even get started on the other inappropriate funnies that litter every episode. Mr. Dink, Doug. Staying along those same lines, let's take a look at Doug. Remember that sweet little cartoon dude who wanted nothing more than to make Patty his girl? That was prime TV viewing. Like most Nick cartoons, Doug had its fair share of inappropriate humor. However, one of the longest running was down to Mr. Dink, Doug's friend. Mr. Dink himself did plenty of laugh-worthy things in his time, but we want to focus on his name. Sure, it sounds awkward and funny by itself, but it stands for Double Income No Kids. It's fitting, as the character frequently splashes the cash on lots of bizarre gadgets and doesn't have a child of his own. The term became popular in the 80s, so it was only right that this retro cartoon picked it up. Ernie Potts' advice. Hey Arnold. Hey Arnold really was the creme de la creme of children's TV. Much like SpongeBob SquarePants, the show was littered with adult themes, making it appealing to a wide audience. Helga's obsession with Arnold's football head was one thing, but the adult characters were just as odd. In a Season 1 episode titled The Old Building, successful businessman Ernie Potts shares his passion with Arnold. He loves to knock stuff down, so imparts some wisdom, telling Arnold that he too can become a great ball wrecker. You see where we're going with this already? According to Potts, it's all about being dedicated while you're alone, and using the reach and pull method. Spencer's olive oil. iCarly. For Gen Zers, iCarly was the best of the best. It was so good that when Sam and Freddie locked lips, over 5 million people tuned in for the next episode. I lost my mind. Yep, that means that 5 million kids were watching when an olive oil gag was broadcast. Spencer asks Carly where he can find the olive oil, so Carly directs him to the bathroom as that's where he left it. What on earth would someone need with olive oil in the bathroom? Well, gentle viewers, we'll leave those visuals up to you. We can lead you to the innuendo water, but we can't make you drink. That song, Victorious. Just like iCarly, Victorious was another show aimed at the new generation of kids. Starring Zoe 101's Victoria Justice in the lead role, it was another surefire hit, even though it only had 4 seasons. Aspiring teen singer Tori is belting out a tune in Season 3 with Jade. Things are fine until Jade croons, "It always seems to bite me in the," forcing Tori to intersect with "Ask Me." Yes, it's a relatively tame adult joke, but it's there, hovering in the foreground. We all know what she was going to say, so the damage was already done. Even most kids would know where that line was going. It doesn't take a genius to see that red flag. Mrs. Puff's past. SpongeBob SquarePants. Poor Mrs. Puff can't get away from SpongeBob no matter how hard she tries. When our favorite yellow sponge fails his driving test yet again, the distraught teacher gives him a license anyway. Should she have? No. She just desperately wants to get away from him and doesn't know what else to do. After a while, Mrs. Puff begins to have second thoughts and starts panicking, worried she'll get caught. Talking to herself, she thinks about running away and starting a new school with a different name. Rather menacingly, Mrs. Puff says, "No, not again." This heavily implies that she may not be so innocent after all. Russian roulette. Rugrats. In the 90s, there really was nothing better than kicking back and watching Rugrats. In fact, there's still nothing better. That show kicks some serious butt. Tommy and his pals are hilarious, but Grandpa often steals the show. He's a strange old dude with a kind heart and a mischievous attitude. Often, he ends up telling the babies stuff that babies really don't need to know. In one snippet, he's browsing through some tapes when he pulls out one featuring some green beauties. He tells the kids that it's his personal favorite, Lonely Space Vixens. Crock blocked. Fairly Odd Parents. In this episode of Fairly Odd Parents, Timmy Turner doesn't like crazy Mr. Crocker at all, so wishes that he would disappear. We've all been there, haven't we? Unfortunately, things don't quite work out that way. The teacher does vanish, but he's just invisible. The whole episode is dedicated to making Mr. Crocker visible again. And it's jam-packed with all the things you would expect. Chaos at its finest. It's a blink and you'll miss it moment, but the title of the episode is Crock Blocked. When the title card flashes up on screen, it's super quick, but anyone over the age of 18 knows what this means. Choky Chicken, Rocko's Modern Life. Rocko's Modern Life is the pinnacle of cartoon television. It really doesn't get much better than this. It may be gone from our screens, but it will always have a place in our hearts. Honestly, there are so many grade A moments to choose from that it's difficult to pick. We've opted for the Choky Chicken advertisement that is so brutal it's more fast fatality than fast food. Rocko watches the commercial as it flashes on screen, which literally shows Heifer struggling to breathe after taking a bite. Good thing that most kids don't know what asphyxiation means, right? Still, chew your chicken! The Chop, Rugrats movie. This Rugrats moment is hands down one of the best things to ever exist, ever. Hands off to the writers for this one because it's beautiful. Tommy leads the gang into a newborn baby ward at the hospital, hoping to pick a baby that his mom will like. Isn't that sweet? As the kids browse the cribs, the newborn starts singing about how different life is on the outside. One girl points out that her cord has been cut, while another baby lifts up his diaper and says, "Consider yourself lucky." This brilliant snippet, see what we did there, is from the Rugrats movie, so not strictly cartoon canon. We love it anyway. If you don't, were you born without a funny bone? Stimpy's private moment, Ren and Stimpy. Ren and Stimpy pushes the boundary of family-friendly entertainment. In fact, some of the episodes are totally unsuitable for kids completely. In Svenhoek, Ren's cousin comes to visit. Excited by the prospect of spending time with a fellow Chihuahua, Ren thinks it's going to be incredible. However, Sven bonds more with Stimpy. In fact, the two hit it off so well that they go into a litter box to have a precious private moment together. How do we know they're not just playing chess? Well, they look at the camera and ask for some alone time. You don't get any more straightforward than that, can ya? The moment was considered so close to the knuckle that it's often left out of airings. SpongeBob's special show, SpongeBob SquarePants. Even sponges get lonely sometimes, you know. Despite show creators claiming that SpongeBob is asexual, they do like to throw the odd racy moment in there. In this scene, SpongeBob is relaxing at home watching a show, which turns out to be a dancing anemone. Viewers might not think anything's wrong with that, but the music is straight out of a 70s adult movie. Plus, SpongeBob's eyes look like they're going to pop out of his head. When Gary slithers in, he hurriedly turns the channel over and tells him he was looking for sports. No one is convinced, SpongeBob. No one! Poor Gary. Goodness only knows what he has to see on a daily basis. Darwin, the Wild Thornberrys. Ah, the Wild Thornberrys. The show focused on Eliza, the super smart kid who traveled around the world with her parents in a camper van. A little on the geeky side, the youngster had a special gift. She could talk to animals. Her pet wasn't a dog or a gerbil, but a chimpanzee named Darwin. Younger kids might not have realized, but this was a nod to the famous scientist Charles Darwin, who came up with a theory of evolution. Is it a duck and cover over 18 innuendo or gag? No, but it certainly wasn't recognized by the target audience, unless they were as clever as Eliza herself. A to D, Victorious. Here's another one from Tori and the gang, which will certainly perk you up. Like many students, Andre finds himself facing an academic blip. He's used to doing exceedingly well in school, so when his grades start to slip, he can't understand what's going on. Exasperated, he asks, how does a person go from an A to D? Luckily for him, Jade is on hand to answer his question. Replying, happened to me in 8th grade. Younger viewers probably thought she was still talking about her report cards, when in reality, she was talking about the size of her assets. It's a great piece of comic writing that was quick, clever, and a little too grown up for the target demographic. That's an A+ from us. Rocko's New Job, Rocko's Modern Life. Life can be hard for a wallaby with no money. Rocko finds himself short of a buck and wants to get a new job, so he tries his hand at several different trades. When none of them work out, he answers an ad for a specialty phone operator. The scene then cuts to a scene of Rocko on the phone in his new job, but it's the posters that get all the attention. In the background, the signs read, "One-on-one hotline," and remember, be hot, be naughty, be courteous. To give him his due, the little guy tries his best, repeating, "Oh baby," into the phone. Peruvian Puff Pepper, Drake and Josh. Drake and Josh was part of an important time in Nick history, so it's no wonder the show made this list. In the second episode of Season 3, the pair are getting tormented by their evil little sis Morgan. She's being particularly irritating in this one, so the brothers decide to get their hands on the Peruvian Puff Pepper. Apparently, it should be handled like a fine woman. When Josh hears that, he immediately throws the pepper away and apologizes to the nice lady. They are teenage boys at that point, so what do you expect? Bet there's a few suspicious-looking piles of Kleenex lurking under their beds, too. Ugh. Nifty Shades of Beige, iCarly. When 50 Shades of Grey caused a worldwide frenzy a few years back, nowhere was safe. Moms and grandmas the world over could be seen clutching a copy, while kids had no idea what the fuss was about. That doesn't mean it wasn't referenced everywhere though, including on iCarly. In the episode I Bust a Thief, Spencer can be seen reading Nifty Shades of Beige. Let's hope that kids didn't really understand the reference, or even better, didn't see it at all. It's only natural for Spencer to be curious though, so maybe that's why he's also got an unhealthy obsession with olive oil. It's suddenly all becoming clear, in a really gross, disgusting way. We're just gonna leave you with that imagery. Grandpa Phil's brain cells. Hey Arnold! Can we take a second to think about how lucky Arnold is? Not only does he have one of the coolest rooms we've ever seen, complete with a huge skylight, but his grandparents are awesome. Grandpa Phil has some of the best lines of the entire series. In one episode, Steely Phil, he explains that he couldn't go back to school because he's lost too many brain cells. Arnold tries to encourage his gramps, telling him that he has brain cells left. Phil disagrees, telling Arnold, not since Woodstock. Of course, the now-defunct festival was famous for its tripping hippies, which might explain why Phil is the way he is. We wouldn't have him any other way though, would we? IRS Jibe, Fairly OddParents. It's wish time again for Timmy Turner when he desires to be the buffest guy at the beach to impress Trixie. Tired of being teased and wanting to skip the gym-going part, Timmy ends up becoming a monster. You know the deal, Timmy wishes, things go awry. It's a tried and tested formula that never fails to entertain. After a while, he manages to track down Cosmo and Wanda saying, "I'm huge, I'm hurting people, and I'm misunderstood." Ah, the poor guy. Cosmo replies, "Just like the IRS." That's a round of applause from taxpayers across the old US of A. It's the little things that make a cartoon great, and this really knocked it out of the park. Boppin', Rugrats. Our little friends are back at it again with the innuendo to end all innuendos. In this Rugrats episode, Chucky becomes obsessed with a new toy called Mr. Boppo. The inflatable toy does nothing, really, it just says 3 words and bounces around. The rest of the babies like it at first, but soon become bored, going off to do their own thing. This is when the true magic happens. Phil says that a kid Chucky's age should be outside playing with his friends, not in his room bopping his boppo. It's brilliant, it's genius, it's the best thing to come out of the 90s since Nirvana. Picking berries, Rocko's modern life. We've already seen that Rocko doesn't have the best luck when it comes to jobs, but he really doesn't have any luck ever. At all. Rocko and his 2 BFFs go camping for the night, but things don't go to plan. Somehow they forget the main thing you need for a night under the stars: food. Sure, tents and sleeping bags are one thing, but no s'mores? Disaster. As they're starving, they begin to hunt around for food. Rocko eventually finds a large bush with bright bulbous orange berries. He's so excited to chow down that he grabs the berries with all his might. That is when a huge hulking monstrosity leaps out from the bushes. Turns out that they were his berries, if you catch our drift. The injured being runs away in horror. Sausage Alley. Hey Arnold! Eating contests are specially designed for just a few people. Not everyone can shove an enormous amount of food into their gullet at lightning speed. That takes a unique talent. In Season 2's eating contest, Grandpa Phil wants Arnold to compete in the annual event. As a former winner himself, he wants his grandson to carry on the family tradition. When Arnold and Phil are talking, there's a sign in the background that's advertising someone's sausage and pointing into an alleyway. Call us crazy, but we don't think that arrow leads to a pot of gold. The characters never reference it, so it's purely for the viewers to digest. Try and get your chops around that. Look Saw, Ren and Stimpy. If you've ever watched even a single episode of Ren and Stimpy, then you'll know it's not PC at all. While the supposedly child-friendly cartoon was bad enough, creators branched off and made an adult one. Sure, we're here to talk about kids shows, but this one counts. In this eye-watering snippet, Ren uses Stimpy's behind to balance a block of wood while he saws it in half. The thrusting, the weird faces, the overall creepy vibe of the entire thing, it's enough to make you think twice about watching it again. Almost, but not quite. Factor in the noises and you've got something that's miles away from appropriate viewing, although that's probably the point. Cradle Attraction, Rugrats. Chucky's back at it again in this penultimate entry when he gets himself a girlfriend. Not that we're jealous or anything, but how can a cartoon baby have more game than we do? Life isn't fair. Writers called the season 3 episode Cradle Attraction, a purposeful play on Fatal Attraction. The latter is a very different form of entertainment, starring Michael Douglas and Glenn Close. While the 1987 caper is way too risque to be replicated in a Rugrats storyline, it's cool that they played on the title. Of course, nothing weird or bunny-related happens to Chucky, so it really is all in the name. The furthest it goes is when the two lovebirds tease and hurt each other to show their affection. Hit that! Rocko's Modern Life. It's only natural that we end with this absolute legend of a cartoon. Rocko's Modern Life may have more adult themes weaved into it than any of the other shows we've mentioned. Although, SpongeBob would give it a pretty good run for its money. In the episode Gutterballs, Rocko, Heifer, and Filbert are chilling out, playing their favorite board game. Nothing weird there, just a few guys kicking back and rolling some dice, right? We'd say yes if the game wasn't called Spank the Monkey. Well, if we had to pick a favorite, we'd have to go with Ren and Stimpy. Those guys never fail. Do you have a moment that you loved or one that we didn't mention? Drop it like it's hot in the comments below. Before you go, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to The Binger. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.